What if the ancient Roman women of politics could teach us how to live more empowered lives, free from government overreach and oligarchic tyranny? What if their influence and creativity behind the scenes is a shining example of how traditional power structures could be circumvented? They did it for power and glory, but individuals can use their tactics for empowered and peaceful resistance of tyrannical systems that grip our world today. Picture this. It's 54 CE, and the most powerful person in the Roman Empire isn't Emperor Claudius. It's his wife, Agrippina the Younger, who, according to the historian Tacitus, held a position of power never seen before in Roman history. She didn't just influence her husband behind closed doors. She ruled alongside him as an equal partner, making decisions that affected millions of people across 3 continents. But Agrippina wasn't unique. She was the culmination of a 500-year political revolution that mainstream education has systematically overlooked. Roman women developed sophisticated mechanisms for wielding political power that fundamentally challenge everything we think we know about ancient gender roles. Today we're going to examine evidence that reveals one of history's most suppressed narratives: how Roman women created parallel institutions, manipulated legal frameworks, and achieved unprecedented levels of political control over 5 centuries. This isn't speculation or feminist revisionism. This is documented historical fact, supported by ancient sources, archaeological evidence, and modern academic research. By the end of this episode, you'll understand 5 specific mechanisms that Roman women used to gain political power, and you'll be able to recognize these same patterns in contemporary political systems. Before we dive in, hit subscribe to follow this channel and support our work. If you would like to start understanding the chaotic world around you, look no further than history and its evolutionary pull. We strive to bring the forgotten wisdom of history into the modern minds and hearts of mankind. Segment 2, the evidence. Let's start with the most concrete evidence. The Ordo Matronarum, a formal political organization that most people have never heard of. By 42 BCE, this organization included over 1,400 wealthy Roman women who operated as a coordinated political pressure group. Ancient historians Valerius Maximus and Appian document their membership numbers, organizational structure, and collective decision-making processes. This wasn't a social club or religious organization. The Ordo Matronarum had formal membership criteria, status symbols, and the ability to influence imperial policy through coordinated lobbying efforts. Modern scholars including Jean Gaget, Nicholas Purcell, and Emily Hemmelreich recognize the Ordo Matronarum's prominence in Roman political life. The Oxford Classical Dictionary's 2024 entry describes them as having corporate identity with privileges and collective decision-making that operated parallel to traditional male political institutions. But individual women achieved even more dramatic levels of political control. Fulvia, wife of Mark Antony, didn't just influence politics from behind the scenes. Cassius Dio records that she was in control of the politics of Rome during Antony's absence. She recruited armies, commanded military operations against Octavian, and participated directly in the conspiracy that led to Julius Caesar's assassination. Julia Domna co-ruled the Severan dynasty for 24 years, managing imperial propaganda with sophisticated understanding of public opinion and media manipulation. Her portrait appears on coins throughout the empire. An academic analysis by Barbara Levick demonstrates her direct involvement in administrative decisions, diplomatic negotiations, and dynasty-building strategies. These weren't isolated exceptions. They represent a systematic pattern of female political participation that evolved over 5 centuries, from informal influence to direct co-rulership of the Roman Empire. Segment 3, the 5 mechanisms. Roman women developed 5 primary mechanisms for political control that operated outside traditional male-dominated structures. Understanding these mechanisms provides analytical tools for recognizing similar patterns in any political system. The first mechanism was legal and constitutional innovation. Women systematically pushed legal boundaries to create new frameworks for political participation. Agrippina convinced Claudius to change fundamental incest laws that had existed for centuries, enabling their marriage and her path to imperial power. Livia received unprecedented financial independence that broke traditional legal constraints on female property ownership, creating legal precedents that expanded economic freedom for wealthy women throughout the empire. These weren't random legal changes. They represent strategic thinking about how institutional frameworks could be modified to accommodate female political participation. Women identified specific legal barriers to their political goals and developed systematic approaches to removing those barriers through legislative innovation. The second mechanism was parallel institutional development. Rather than attempting to penetrate existing male institutions like the Senate, women created separate but parallel power structures that could influence political outcomes. The Ordo Matronarum operated with formal membership criteria, regular meetings, collective decision-making processes, and coordinated lobbying activities that influenced imperial policy. This parallel institution building demonstrates sophisticated understanding of political organization. Women recognized that creating alternative power structures might be more effective than trying to reform existing institutions that were designed to exclude them. They built their own networks, developed their own decision-making processes, and created their own channels for political influence. The third mechanism was strategic marriage networks. Marriage served not as subordination but as political alliance building across generations. Fulvia married 3 successive tribunes, maintaining and expanding political influence across regime changes. These marriages created cross-generational political networks that preserved female influence through dynastic transitions and civil wars. This approach required long-term strategic thinking about political relationships and institutional continuity. Women understood that individual political careers were temporary, but family networks could preserve influence across decades. They used marriage as a tool for building sustainable political coalitions that could survive changes in leadership and political circumstances. The fourth mechanism was crisis exploitation and opportunity recognition. Women demonstrated sophisticated understanding of political timing, using moments of institutional weakness to establish new precedents. Civil wars, succession crises, and barbarian invasions became opportunities for expanding female political authority through military leadership, diplomatic innovation, and administrative control. Fulvia's military command during the civil wars, Agrippina's succession manipulation during Claudius's reign, and Galla Placidia's diplomatic innovations during barbarian invasions all represent strategic recognition of how political crises create opportunities for institutional change. Women understood that normal political rules become flexible during emergencies, and they positioned themselves to take advantage of these opportunities. The fifth mechanism was information and access control. Women leveraged their positions in imperial households to become essential intermediaries in political communication. They controlled who could meet with emperors, managed imperial correspondence, and coordinated intelligence networks through female social connections, making themselves indispensable to political decision-making. This information control created what modern political scientists would recognize as gatekeeper power. By controlling access to decision-makers and managing information flows, women could influence political outcomes without holding formal positions. They became essential nodes in political communication networks, giving them leverage over both policy decisions and personnel appointments. These 5 mechanisms didn't emerge simultaneously. They developed over 5 centuries through systematic experimentation, adaptation, and institutional building that reveals sophisticated long-term strategic thinking. Consider how short-sighted most Americans view politics and meaningful change. Most people think in terms of the next election, championing group politics and tribal support for their candidate or party. Consider how little direct influence the average person has on the dense bureaucracy of the modern administrative state, or the behemoth lobbying prowess of the pharmaceutical, military-industrial, and agricultural industries. Now consider how Roman women knew that they were never going to be allowed to participate directly in a patriarchal system. They were pragmatic and grounded in systems-based thinking. If America is to change its course and unify, a sobering perspective on the farce of democracy is warranted. Viewing the world through the same lens of practicality as the ancient Roman women is critical. Alternative means of transcending such entrenched abusive systems of power and corruption require long-term thinking, massive cooperation and amnesty amongst differing political ideologies, and unique parallel structures that operate outside the framework of the legacy society structures and institutions. Segment 4. Modern applications. The 5 mechanisms that Roman women used for political control remain relevant for understanding contemporary political dynamics. Pattern recognition skills developed through historical analysis provide analytical tools for evaluating modern political systems and institutional relationships. Legal and constitutional innovation continues to serve as a mechanism for expanding political participation. Contemporary examples include legislative reforms that expand voting rights, campaign finance regulations that affect political competition, and constitutional amendments that modify institutional frameworks. The Roman women of antiquity can both give a positive example of how society can empower itself from tyrannical government, and at the same time serve as a cautionary tale for well-educated and perceptive citizens. Seeing how the elite women of Rome exploited crisis and wars for their own machinations gives insight into what patterns of usurpation to watch out for. We can begin to see how the crises of modern times may have been exploited by powerful institutions for their own agenda in ways that may not have been obvious in the moment, but in hindsight show striking resemblance to the Machiavellian inspiration behind Agrippina's ambition, as well as the several other women of Rome who ruled and exercised covert power unscrupulously. Crisis exploitation and opportunity recognition remain fundamental aspects of political strategy. Contemporary examples include how political actors use economic crises, security threats, and social disruptions to advance policy agendas and expand institutional authority. Roman women's sophisticated understanding of political timing provides historical perspective on how crises create opportunities for institutional change. Parallel institution building remains a common strategy for groups seeking political influence outside traditional channels. Modern examples include advocacy organizations, political action committees, and issue-based coalitions that operate alongside formal political institutions. The Ordo Matronarum's organizational structure and lobbying strategies provide historical perspective on how parallel institutions can influence policy outcomes. These patterns operate across different political systems, time periods, and cultural contexts. The specific mechanisms change, but the underlying strategic approaches remain consistent. Historical analysis provides perspective on how political influence operates outside formal institutional channels and how alternative power structures can affect policy outcomes. Segment 5, Educational Empowerment. The Roman women's political power narrative provides more than historical knowledge. It offers analytical frameworks for understanding how political influence operates in any system, including our own. The 5 mechanisms we've examined represent systematic approaches to political influence that transcend specific historical contexts. Legal innovation, parallel institution building, strategic alliance networks, crisis exploitation, and information control operate in contemporary political systems just as they did in ancient Rome. Understanding these mechanisms provides tools for evaluating political claims, analyzing institutional relationships, and recognizing how power operates outside formal channels. These mechanisms are not limited to the ancient elite women of Roman antiquity. Parallel institutions and parallel structures were vital outlets for allowing states under the Soviet Union to collapse the communist empire from within. The people of a society are far more empowered than what may appear on the surface. True change often comes from outside the de facto government structures and power systems. Mass non-compliance and creative solutions can trump authoritarian policies and government overreach. All it takes is a movement of like-minded people moving from an empowered state of being and organizing effectively. The 500-year evolution of Roman women's political power demonstrates that institutional change occurs through systematic effort over extended time periods. Individual political careers are temporary, but institutional frameworks and cultural patterns persist across generations. This perspective encourages long-term thinking about political participation and institutional development. The suppression of this narrative illustrates how educational frameworks and interpretive assumptions affect our understanding of political systems. Recognizing these limitations encourages critical evaluation of mainstream narratives and independent analysis of historical and contemporary evidence. We're here to provide analytical tools, not political conclusions. The Roman women's political power story offers historical perspective on political strategy, institutional development, and social change that remains relevant for contemporary analysis. Use these tools to develop your own understanding of political dynamics and make your own decisions about political participation. The evidence speaks for itself. Roman women developed sophisticated mechanisms for political control over 5 centuries, achieving unprecedented levels of political authority through strategic thinking, institutional innovation, and systematic effort. This historical reality challenges assumptions about gender roles, political participation, and institutional development that continue to affect contemporary political analysis. Understanding this history provides perspective on political possibility and strategic thinking that remains relevant today.